Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're going to be taking a deep dive into some interesting online chatter surrounding the timeline of Keith Gill's investment activities.
Oh, okay.
We've got a whole bunch of Reddit posts and comments from our super stonk and our GME to unpack. Seems like the internet is always buzzing about these specific dates, right?
Yeah, always.
So today is October 30th, 2024. Some really, really keen eyes over on Reddit have noticed something peculiar. You remember that picture that Keith Gill, aka Roaring Kitty, posted back on September 6th?
Remind me.
The one for the dog dropping its toy?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the dropping the dog post. Yeah, as it's come to be known.
Yeah.
Quite a curious image to share.
It seems like the date that he posted it might be more significant than we initially thought. One Reddit user pointed out that today, October 29th, marks exactly 35 trading days since September 6th,
Okay.
excluding Columbus Day.
Yep.
And they're calling it T plus 35, referring to the settlement period for trades.
Ah, T plus 35, the time it takes for a trade to officially settle. And what makes this even more intriguing is that Gill filed to sell his position in Chewy, the pet supply company, on September 30th.
Now, the Reddit community is really digging into this, debating whether the T plus 35 timing is just a coincidence or a meticulously planned event.
Mm.
One user even wondered if it was a nod to International Cat Day, which just happened to be yesterday, October 29th.
Oh, right.
With Chewy being a pet company and all.
Okay. Yeah.
People love to find these connections, especially in the world of finance where timing can be everything.
Yeah, it's a classic case of correlation versus causation.
Speaking of connections, another Reddit post popped up confirming that Gill did indeed sell his Chewy position based on a 13G filing.
Mm.
There were some really interesting comments on this one. One user commented, "Actions speak louder than memes," while another praised Gill for his honesty. And the moderator of the RGME subreddit simply commented, "That's it," almost like they're trying to just shut down any further speculation.
Yeah. Move along, nothing to see here kind of thing.
Exactly. But of course, that didn't stop the discussion.
No, of course not.
The Reddit detectives were on the case, debating whether the filing date of September 30th is actually the date the sale was executed or if it could have happened later. And then they brought the T plus 35 date back into the mix, wondering if it's actually tied to the filing being officially placed rather than the actual sale date. What do you make of all this?
It's fascinating. It's fascinating how deeply these Reddit users are analyzing the situation. They're not just casually observing, they're looking at SEC filings and they're dissecting trading timelines. I think it speaks volumes about their engagement and their understanding of the market, even if some of the speculation might seem a bit far-fetched.
And believe me, it gets even more intriguing. There's another post discussing the significance of C plus 35, which is the settlement date of a trade plus 35 days. In Gill's case, C plus 35 for his Chewy sale falls on November 4th. Now buckle up because this is where things get really interesting. November 4th.
That's just a day before the U.S. election on November 5th.
Yeah.
And the post throws in some other events happening around the same time, like Bank of Japan meetings.
It's quite the collection of dates and events, almost like a cosmic alignment.
But to their credit, the post does include a disclaimer stating that these dates are not a prediction of any price action.
Right. Of course, a little disclaimer, never hurt anyone, but that doesn't stop people from speculating. Some users even noticed that Gill used a flag emoji in his dropping the dog post, perhaps hinting at the U.S. election date.
And to add to the intrigue, there's a whole discussion about the timing of Gill and Ryan Cohen's tweets, with at least 16 days between each post.
So we have a timeline of events, a series of seemingly connected dates, and a really, really passionate online community trying to piece it all together. It's like a financial mystery waiting to be solved.
Yeah, it is. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's take a step back and analyze what we've uncovered so far. The dropping the dog post, T plus 35, the confirmed Chewy sale, C plus 35, the U.S. election. It's quite a lot to process.
It's like we're piecing together a giant puzzle, and we've only just found a few of the corner pieces. But something tells me this is going to be a fascinating picture once it's all put together.
Indeed. And as we delve deeper into the significance of T plus 35 and C plus 35 in the context of stock trades, you'll start to understand why these seemingly random dates have people buzzing. So you're probably wondering, well, what's the big deal with T plus 35 and C plus 35? Well, in the world of stock trading, timing Timing is everything, and these timelines can sometimes reveal potential market manipulation or unusual activity.
Okay, now you've got my attention.
Think of it like this. T plus 35. The settlement date plus 35 days. It represents the time it takes for a trade to be fully settled. You know, like when you order a package online, you click buy, but it takes a few days for it to actually arrive, and
Okay.
a lot can happen in that time.
So it's not just about when you hit the buy or sell button, but when the actual transfer of ownership and funds happens behind the scenes.
Exactly. Now, sometimes unusual trading activities or patterns might emerge around these settlement dates. A sudden surge in volume or price volatility could raise red flags.
So people are looking at these dates in relation to Gill's Chewy sale and wondering if something fishy might be going on.
Yes, and C plus 35 adds another layer of intrigue. It's the settlement date plus 35 days, which, as we mentioned, falls on November 4th for Gill's Chewy sale.
Right.
And this date is interesting because it coincides with the typical expiry date for monthly options contracts. So a large stock move around this time, influenced by a T plus 35 play, could lead to massive gains or losses for options holders.
So theoretically, someone could use these timelines to their advantage, potentially manipulating stock prices or profiting from the volatility surrounding these dates.
That's the theory that some people are proposing. And while we can't definitively say that anything is amiss without concrete evidence, the convergence of these dates and the online chatter surrounding them is certainly intriguing.
It's almost like we're looking at a web of interconnected events. The timing of Gill's sale, the T plus 35 and C plus 35 dates, the U.S. election looming just a few days later. It's all very, very curious.
And let's not forget the Reddit community dissecting every detail, every emoji, every timestamp. They're like, digital detectives, trying to piece together this financial puzzle.
It's amazing how much attention to detail they have. They're not just passively following the news. They're actively engaging with it, trying to understand the underlying mechanics of the market.
Yeah, it speaks to a desire for transparency and a healthy skepticism, which are both very important qualities for investors.
Absolutely.
But as with any investigation, we have to be careful not to jump to conclusions. We've seen how quickly speculation can turn into misinformation, especially online.
That's true.
It's absolutely crucial to distinguish between correlation and causation. Just because events happen around the same time doesn't necessarily mean that they're directly related.
So while the convergence of these dates is certainly interesting, we need to be cautious about assigning meaning where there might be none.
Exactly. We need to look at the evidence objectively and avoid confirmation bias, which is, the tendency to search for information that confirms our pre-existing beliefs.
Oh, yeah. That's a good reminder for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
But even with a healthy dose of skepticism, it's hard not to get caught up in the excitement of this unfolding story. Roy.
It's like a financial thriller in real time. And while we may never know for certain if there was any intentional manipulation, the discussion that it sparked about market mechanics and the potential for exploitation is incredibly valuable.
I think that's a really good point. It's a reminder that the world of finance is complex and often opaque,
Yeah,
and that understanding these nuances can really, empower us as investors.
indeed. And as we move into the final part of our deep dive, we'll explore some of the broader implications of the situation and what it might mean for the future of the market.
Okay, so we've unpacked this intriguing timeline surrounding Keith Gill's Chewy sale, explored the complexities of T plus 35 and C plus 35, and now the big question.
The million-dollar question.
What does it all mean in the grand scheme of things? Is there something bigger at play here, or are we just chasing shadows?
Yeah, that is the question. And while we can't offer any definitive answers, we can explore some potential implications of what we've uncovered. First and foremost, this whole situation underscores the crucial importance of transparency and regulation in the stock market. When individuals with significant holdings, especially those who have, garnered a following like Keith Gill, make moves, the timing and execution of those trades can send ripples throughout the market.
It's not just about what they do, but when they do it.
Exactly. The timing of Gill's Chewy sale, in conjunction with those T plus 35 and C plus 35 dates, raises questions about whether there were any attempts to leverage market mechanics for personal gain. Now, while we can't definitively say without concrete evidence, it highlights the need for regulators to scrutinize these types of trades, ensuring a level playing field for all investors.
It's all about protecting the integrity of the market
Right.
and preventing potential manipulation that could harm everyday investors.
Absolutely. Now, regarding those other events mentioned in the Reddit posts, like the US election and the Bank of Japan meetings, it's tempting to draw connections, but we must be cautious.
Right, we talked about confirmation bias earlier. Just because events occur around the same time doesn't necessarily mean they're directly related.
Exactly. While these events could potentially influence market sentiment and volatility, directly linking them to Gill's actions requires more than speculation. We need concrete evidence.
So while it's natural to be intrigued by the timing of everything, we should avoid jumping to conclusions based solely on coincidence.
Agreed. However, this entire situation has sparked a very valuable conversation about market mechanics, the potential for manipulation, and the importance of critical thinking when evaluating financial information.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's a reminder that the market is a complex ecosystem influenced by a myriad of factors, both seen and unseen.
And while we might never have all the answers, engaging in thoughtful discussions, questioning assumptions, and seeking evidence-based insights can empower us as investors.
Well said. So to our listeners, we've reached the end of our deep dive into the timeline and online chatter surrounding Keith Gill's investment activities. We explored the significance of T plus 35 and C plus 35, discussed the potential for market manipulation, and even touched upon those seemingly unrelated events like the U.S. election. What does it all mean? We encourage you to draw your own conclusions, but remember, critical thinking and healthy skepticism are your most valuable assets in the world of finance.
Absolutely. As you continue to navigate the market, keep an eye on those timelines, settlement dates, and any unusual patterns that emerge. You never know what hidden insights you might uncover. After all, the market is a constant source of learning and discovery.
And who knows, maybe one of you listening will be the one to crack the code. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and as always, happy investing.